Now, let's talk about the voting process. Being an engineer, I wanted to be able to examine and simplify my understanding of what happens when you go from registration through the voting process and you end up with the results at the end of the night that you turn into the TV or radio or the websites to find out what the. Now, what you're going to see, because we live in Madison County, I did research on Madison County, and this is what we call a process flow diagram, and I'm going to take you through this. Starting in the upper left-hand side, this is where George talked about the voter registration. When you go to your precinct and you check in, they check your identification, make sure, hey, it's Bob Retch, here is your ballot. They give you a ballot and a paper. You mark your ballot, excuse me, and you walk over to an ES&S tabulator. ES&S is what's used in Alabama. You feed your ballot into the tabulator. At that point, your paper ballot gets converted to ones and zeros, and it gets computerized. This machine produces three products. One, your ballot that goes into the bottom is taken out later on and then taken by the sheriff with all the other ballots in the county and is put into a cell in the Madison County Jail. It's locked up and you can't get to it unless two things happen. One, there's a contested election, less than 1% between the two top winners, forces a hand count. The other one is that you have to get a court order. These ballots never essentially see the light of day once you put it into the machine. Two other products come out of this. One is a printout at the end of the day, and the thumb drive that is installed in the machine they take out at the end of the day, and they make sure that the numbers correlate. They put it in sealed envelopes, they sign it, and it's taken by the inspector of the precinct or the sheriff's deputy to the county courthouse. When it gets there, one or two people take this information, the printouts and the thumb drives. They take the thumb drive and load it into a Madison County laptop. After a while, when they have several precincts report, they call it a batch, and they take the batch and they transfer the data from that batch, several precincts, and they load it onto another thumb drive, which is inserted into the Secretary of State issued laptop. Now, the interesting thing here is that this laptop has software loaded on it. It was by the company called Clarity and Cytal. That company was created in Barcelona, Spain, and then eventually went bankrupt. They were bought out by a group called the Paragon Group, and they have servers currently in 35 countries, including Russia. Now, you want to stop and ask yourself, why is Clarity and Cytal in Alabama when they have servers and companies all across the world, and we all know how things can be cheated when you're dealing with computers. But we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. Once that data is uploaded onto the laptop, Clarity and Cytal process that data, and then they send it out to two locations. One, they send it to the Secretary of State, and the second one is they send it to another company called Edison. Edison is located in New Jersey, and it is the sole provider for all states and all information pertaining to voters. Everything funnels through one company in New Jersey. From there, that is fed to the news organizations, the websites. It's fed to CNN, MSNBC, it's radios, newspapers, AP, or whatever. Everybody gets that from one location. So you ask yourself, Bob, what's wrong with this? Well, George already talked about the voter rolls here, but there's other things wrong. I mentioned the public access. We can't see our paper ballots. These machines are easily hacked through the internet. They have wireless cards in them. There is an ES&S source code that cannot be seen by anybody except ES&S. No independent validation and verification companies can go in and look at that data. And then also all of the components in these machines are communist Chinese products. They all come from China, which means that who knows what's on the hardware, software, or any embedded firmware. Another one is possibly a possibility of open and hacking through the internet. And then I didn't mention that the thumb drives, when they're done from the county courthouse, within 7 days have to be turned back into ES&S. They go back to Nebraska, and all of the evidence and data on the thumb drives are wiped clean. They're gone, so we can't see those again. All in all, there are 14 opportunities for voter fraud in this process that you've seen. Now, here it is again, and I want you to look at the curtain. Once you put your ballots into the machine, it gets converted to ones and zeros, and you do not see anything, and you do not see any of the processes behind there. You are forbidden until it gets spit out about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and you find out the winner is. I call this a curtain of secrecy. But even though we're not permitted to see what's behind the curtain, you have to trust us. Everything is good. Don't worry about it. The machines aren't connected to the internet.